That's shocking. That's kind of what I'm wondering about my suspicious.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Rise and do the pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Sure. Kushner,
Here.
Osborne,
Here.
Latari. Here. Jones, not present. Euler,
Here. Approval of city council minutes, approval of council minutes for regular city council meeting minutes from May 13th, 2024, and special city council meeting minutes dated June 4th, 2024.
Move to approve.
second. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari. Yes. Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Adoption of agenda. Move to approve.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari. Yes. Euler.
Yes. Okay. We have some wonderful proclamations tonight. First proclamation will be Juneteenth Day of Observance 2024. Barbara, come on up. Thanks for coming up. Juneteenth Day of Observance 2024 proclamation. Whereas on June 19, 1865, almost 90 years after the country was first founded and more than 2 years after President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, enslaved Americans in Galveston, Texas, finally received word from Union soldiers that they were free from bondage. And whereas as first-time citizens, Black Americans came to commemorate Juneteenth with celebrations of new lives and traditions across the country, known by many names as Jubilee Day, Freedom Day, and Liberation Day. And whereas since 2003, Juneteenth has been recognized by law in Missouri as Emancipation Day and dedicated by statute described that Americans devote some part of the day to remember the proclamation that began the full realization for all people in the United States of the self-evident truth that all people are created equal. And whereas in 2021, President Biden declared June 19th as Juneteenth Day of Observance across the nation to acknowledge and celebrate the end of the Civil War and the emancipation of Black Americans. And whereas the citizens of Warrensburg are urged to recommit with purpose and resolve to the work of equity, equality, and justice for all. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Bruce D. Euler, Mayor, along with Warrensburg City Council, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2024 to be the Juneteenth Day of Observance in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and seal this 10th day of June, 2024. Thank you.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
And it's what say there, we have more.
Okay. Scoot over to maybe. LGBTQIA+ Pride Month, June 2024 proclamation. And whereas our nation was founded on the principles of equal rights for all people, but the fulfillment of this promise has been long in coming for many Americans. And whereas lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual, plus citizens in our communities face discrimination simply for being who they are and for whom they love. And whereas while society at large is slowly recognizing new definitions of sexuality and gender, we must also acknowledge the need for education and awareness remains vital to end discrimination and prejudice. And whereas the city of Warrensburg is strengthened by and thrives upon the rich diversity of its residents, all of whom contribute to the vibrant character of our city. Through our Warrensburg Diversity and Inclusion Commission, we strive to embrace diversity and foster inclusion for all of our citizens. And whereas the city of Warrensburg recognizes the importance and contributions of members of the LGBTQIA+ community and is an opportunity to engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights for all. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Bruce D. Euler, Mayor, City of Warrensburg, along with the Warrensburg City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2024 as LGBTQIA+ Pride Month in the city of Warrensburg. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and seal this 10th day of June. Oh. Okay. Got a team here now. National Immigrant Heritage Month, June 2024 proclamation. Whereas the United States is a nation of immigrants who with great bravery left their homes, lives, and loved ones to seek a better future in the land they had never been to. And whereas for centuries, immigrants from every part of the world brought energy and new ideas to shape our nation's identity and progress. And whereas immigrants have played an integral part in building American society, economy, and culture. And whereas they continue contributing to advancement in many areas such as business, science, art, education, government, and many more. And whereas in 2014, President Barack Obama proclaimed the month of June as National Immigrant Heritage Month to honor and recognize the contributions and diverse cultures of immigrants. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Bruce D. Euler, Mayor of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri, along with the Warrensburg City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2024 as National Immigrant Heritage Month. We encourage members of the community to learn more about the history of our nation's diverse and varied immigrant communities, reflect their own immigrant roots, and embrace the diversity that makes the nation stronger. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and seal this 10th day of June, 2024. Oh, great. Wonderful. Bruce. From there, National Caribbean American Heritage Month 2024. Whereas in the 19th century, the United States of America attracted many Caribbeans who excelled in various professions, such as craftsmen, scholars, teachers, preachers, doctors, inventors, comedians, politicians, poets, songwriters, and activists. And whereas Caribbean Americans have played an indelible role in many social and political movements, including the Civil Rights Movement, adding to the strength and shaping American history, culture, and government with their leadership and achievements. And whereas in June 2005, the House of Representatives unanimously adopted the commemoration of National Caribbean Heritage Month to recognize the significance of Caribbean people and their descendants in the history and culture of the United States. The resolution passed the Senate on February 14, 2006. On June 6, 2006, President George W. Bush proclaimed the month of June as Caribbean American Heritage Month. And whereas, although the population of Caribbean Americans in our community is small, the city of Warrensburg has a special place in the heart of the people of Falmouth, Jamaica. For over 20 years, the people of the community have been building relationships with the Jamaican people through medical missions led by UCM Professor Emeritus Dr. Steve Mills. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Brewster Euler, Mayor of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri, along with the Warrensburg City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of 2024 as the National Caribbean American Heritage Month and encourage all community members to celebrate and honor Caribbean Americans and their heritage. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and seal this 10th day of June, 2024.
One more. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Presentation by our favorite ladies. Project update on Rethink McGuire by Burns and McDonald. Would you introduce yourselves? We know who you are, but.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brenda Mackey. I am with Burns & McDonald, and I'm the project manager for Rethink McGuire. Been working closely with Danielle and Joe and team to help move this project forward over the last year, almost year now. So I'm excited to give you guys just an update on where things are at. We're going to start with just a status update and go through how we're moving towards construction on the corridor. Recap open house, which I know a lot of you were at, and feedback that we received there. We're going to go through what construction communications looks like here in the upcoming months and then do an overview of next steps. So this is our timeline, our schedule. We've presented this to you a few times over the course of the last year. We continue to be in that pre-construction phase right now. So you have seen some contractors out on the corridor, primarily looking at utilities. So we're trying to locate, make sure we know where they're at, and plan for those during the underground phases of construction. A few things that happened in the last couple weeks where we are going to start refocusing our area first on the portions of the corridor south of North Street. So we're just going to put as many directions in one sentence as possible and say south of North Street multiple times. And so what I'd like to go through is a primary item that has driven that decision to focus on that portion of the corridor first. We actually came across a funding mechanism related to stormwater work. If you recall, when I was here in January, we talked about the stormwater improvements for the project. We've been able to observe several events this spring, and especially how those are impacting the Emerson portion of the corridor in particular. That has led us to do some additional hydraulic and hydrologic analysis on the area. And we've been looking, as you saw at the open house, at doing more underground detention facilities to help control the volume of stormwater, but also for the quality of the water itself to improve the quality of it. When we started looking at detention, that does open up some other funding opportunities. And so we started looking around at what we could potentially supplement currently allocated dollars with to get this added into the construction. And one option for this that we found is called the Emerging Contaminants Grant. The funding for this grant is through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law or bill that you have most likely heard of. It is administered through MDNR, Missouri Department of Natural Resources, through their Clean Water State Revolving Fund, also referred to commonly as SRF. So you may have heard that acronym before. So the goal of this grant is to reduce pollutants of concern that are not necessarily related to any certain policy right now. So there's a large list of contaminants that could be associated with this grant. The potential grant award is up to $5 million. So we started talking to the state about this and looking at viability, and it seemed quite viable as a potential award. And so we continue to pursue this. The pollutant of concern that we're specifically looking at is 6-ppb quinone. I apologize if I'm not stating that exactly correct or pronouncing that, but it is on the screen for reference. It is related to a type of microplastic that comes from the wear of tires. So you typically find heavier concentrations of this on your roadway surfaces. Not surprisingly. It mixes with then that rainfall runoff that comes off of the roads and then attaches to that sediment and is transported downstream. So I guess take note of that. It attaches to sediment. We'll revisit that here in a second. In order to qualify for the grant, we do have to do a water sample. And so we have been able to obtain those water samples thanks to Joe Clifford. Thank you, Joe. Awesome. Going out and getting those samples, and they're currently being tested by the USGS lab in Lawrence. Why this lab in Lawrence? They actually have a researcher there that is focusing on 6-ppd quinone. So right in the region. All right, so how could Rethink McGuire address this potential pollutant of concern? So recall that the 6-ppd quinone attaches to sediment. In the types of underground detention facilities that we're looking at, a second purpose to the volume is settling out sediment. So when that sediment settles out, it will be maintained by vacuuming out then that sediment. We're going to try to capture as much of that as possible in what we call sump inlets that would be immediately upstream of the detention facility itself. And those function very similar to the detention facilities in that they have an area about 2 feet at the bottom of them where the water will sit and then the sediment will settle out in there. And that's nice because inlets are more accessible and easier to maintain than an underground detention facility. So we've been looking at doing those in series. We've also been looking at potentially some separator devices, which would be another layer to capture this contaminant. So that would involve a filter or a screening system, similar to the separator device shown on the screen. So that would be upstream of or immediately before the underground facilities. Filters can also be attached directly to the inlet themselves. So that is an option too that we can look at as construction moves forward. So it's a very interesting situation where we may be able to address both volume concerns and that localized flooding that's happening just downstream of the Emerson area, as well as to address water quality on this emerging contaminant concern. We submitted the application last week, so it's currently under review by Missouri Department of Natural Resources. We've been given 2 timelines. So I put both of them up here. We may be considered at their July commission meeting. And if that's the case, then we could potentially be awarded funding in the fall. If their next commission meeting after July is October, and that would push any awarded funds to the spring. And so this does start to impact how we're looking at schedule on the corridor. And since this is a question mark right now, right, we're waiting for approval of the application as well as a potential timeline. We want to keep moving the construction on the corridor along, which is why we're going to prioritize south of north until we get this piece resolved here for the time being. So I wanted to just outline some potential risks with this grant application, risks unknowns at this point, so that we're all on the same page. That water testing is still underway. We have there's a high probability that they're going to find this contaminant in it when we talk to the researcher. So, but right now we need that evidence back to provide to the Missouri Department of Natural Resources that yes, we do have this pollutant in our watershed on McGuire. So that is one risk at this point. A second one I discussed during the schedule discussion is that our construction schedule will move faster than the grant could be awarded. We're going to try to mitigate that by focusing south of North Street to begin with. And that gives us a little bit more time to figure out what's going on with this grant situation. And then the final one that we've identified at this point is if we have any NPDES or Clean Water Act non-compliance, that could also allow MDNR to deny the grant request. So-
Please explain what NPDES is.
I'd
Please.
be happy
Yes,
to.
thank
Okay,
you.
lots of acronyms there. That's the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permits. They apply to typically stormwater permits as well as wastewater permitting. And that's something that the city does have to apply for to the state each, like at a certain interval. So the stormwater permit, which is the MS4 permit, that's Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. So that's up on the screen too. Sorry for the acronyms, guys. That is under that NPDES program or one of those permits. The city did recently undergo an audit on that program. So, but this would apply to any national pollutant discharge elimination system permit that the city has.
Are we taking questions or?
If you have any questions related to the grant, I'd be happy to take them.
What would be non-compliance? How would that,
Yeah.
what's possible for non-compliance?
So non-compliance with a stormwater audit could be anything. Basically, the city has a permit that outlines tasks that they have to complete over a 5-year period. Usually the state comes in about every 5 years and they will ask the city to review the tasks that are part of that permit. And if something doesn't quite meet the letter of what they think should be happening, then typically the next step is they would issue the city a letter of warning and give the city the opportunity to fix or come into compliance with what they've identified where they would like to go. So typically it can be a collaborative process with the state to make sure that you come back into compliance.
And the 6 ppd, is that a value
I
of
don't
6?
know.
Okay,
That I don't know.
okay. We'll find out. Thanks.
Have we been in compliance?
With your stormwater permit,
Yes.
currently you are in compliance. The state has not notified you otherwise.
Okay, thank you.
I haven't heard from.
Okay.
Oh, that was, when you were shaking your head this way, uh-oh.
I haven't heard.
You haven't heard from them. Okay, thanks, Phil. Any questions for Brenda? Here, okay, thanks.
Okay. So that's a pretty major project update that I think will impact our overall funding for the project.
We were very excited when we heard this the other day because we might be one of the first maybe that gets this grant, so that's very exciting. And I've always wondered where tires went. Why they go bald, but where did the tires go? So that's, now we know.
In the air and in the water.
Yeah.
It goes everywhere. Yeah.
Another key action that the team is working on is easement. And working through basically 3 types of easements. So that'd be temporary construction, permanent utility easements, particularly related to moving the power lines to the back of the sidewalk. This has been a request by Evergy. And then also a right-of-way easement. So on temporary construction easements along the corridor, those will be asked for from almost every property owner. And what this does, it allows the contractor to do the work, to build the work. I'd like to emphasize those are temporary in nature. Typically anything that is disturbed is restored to the same or better condition. So they just may need access around the corridor to get those improvements built. And that would be the nature of a temporary construction easement. It would have a timeline on there. On permanent easements, we have 2 types that we are looking for. One of those being more utility in nature. The purpose of a utility easement is so that we can do basically construct, but then also maintain utilities over a period of time. And that would be the case in what Evergy is requesting at this point. So right now, what we have been working with Evergy on, and again, this is still a work in progress.
Sure.
Is to move those utility poles to the back of the sidewalk, which would technically be within city property. Evergy wants to make sure that they can maintain any overhangs of those poles long-term. And that is why they have discussed with us the need for a utility easement long-term. So. Then the third type of easement that we are looking at is a right-of-way easement. And so this comes into play at, three different situations within the corridor. At some intersections, it helps to get our boxes where all of our signal equipment is at right now, move it to the back of the sidewalk. And so there's some additional room needed in order to do that. At other intersections, it's to improve the radius of the curb itself, that curb line going around, that helps with different vehicle movements to make those smoother around the curb than they are today. And probably most important, at our signalized intersections with the arrangement of the signal poles and the sidewalks, having that permanent right-of-way easement helps to bring everything into ADA compliance at the intersections. So it all works together more seamlessly. So those are our three types of easements that we'll be working with property owners on here over the next couple months. And if you have questions on any of those, you may get some questions from constituents. So I wanted to make sure you understood what we were asking of them.
If we do, we'll ask you too, so. Any questions for Brenda?
Okay. So now we're going to recap open house.
Thought we touch on a few of the things that we've been up to with regard to communicating with the community of property owners. And then we'll talk about kind of what's coming as we get closer to construction and construction ramps up. So I know most, if not all of you were at the open house. Appreciated seeing you all there. We did have about 35 participants sign in, which we thought was really great, given where we're at with the project. And particularly because we've been talking with the majority of business owners up and down the corridor. So we're really pleased to see that folks came out. We're able to look at how the design is progressing. Overall, the energy was really great. And we do have all of those meeting materials posted online. So if anyone asks about them, they can certainly check them out. And I know Danielle got the strip maps up in City Hall. So lots of opportunities there. In addition to meeting with folks up and down the corridor, those weeks leading up to the open house, we promoted a pre-construction survey, and it was pretty short but effective. And some of the key questions were to gauge kind of how folks interacted with the corridor, who are we talking to, what types of communication do they like to receive, what concerned them about construction, and what's the best way to keep in touch with them. By and large, the overwhelming majority of the 60 respondents that completed the survey were folks outside the immediate corridor stakeholders. So by that, I mean people who travel McGuire, use it to reach a destination, not those immediate property owners, which is exactly what we were hoping to see, because we're already talking to those folks and we've gathered a lot of great data from them. So top concerns among that group, not terribly surprising, but how long is this going to last? How's it going to impact my daily routine? And will people be able to get where they're going? And we're going to talk in a second about how we're going to help folks understand what's going on. But the one quote that jumped out at us and I thought was really indicative of a lot of the open comments is, no matter where you live in Warrensburg, you use McGuire. And I think that really is exciting, because the work that you're all doing through this project, a lot of folks are going to get to experience and benefit from. But it also speaks to the importance of managing those construction impacts as much as possible and ensuring that we're communicating with folks and trying to minimize that frustration. So we've got a couple of key things that we've already put in place that we're going to be using to communicate. The website is the hub. So we still have rethinkmcguire.com alive and well. We have updated the brand. You may or may have not noticed because it's a little small here, but you may recall that as we were visioning and planning, we were doing a lot of rethinking, and we're now quickly moving into a little bit of a rebuilding phase with the ultimate goal of reviving and adding increased energy and life and utility and activation of spaces up and down the corridor. So we really liked that. And that's a lot of, I think, Danielle's visioning here. Got to give her credit here that it's really beyond this project, right? So not only what are we doing now, but what are we setting the stage for to come? So just a little exciting aside and something to keep an eye on. The other kind of couple of key tools that we're going to use, the first is Facebook. And I think I heard it from folks around this very room here at the open house, right? We are a Facebook community, and that has been reflected in the survey results and everyone we've talked to.
and the high level engagement we've already seen on that page. So that'll be our primary social platform. We'll really leverage that for updates. That will come from the project, not the city. We'll work with Danielle to reshare things that are key, but we really want to drive folks to the construction team, to our page. And then the other key thing to be aware of is that we do have a hotline, that dedicated phone number up there. And that gets monitored, it gets responded to quickly. And I loved what you said a moment ago, Mayor, like if we get questions, we're gonna throw them to you. That is exactly what we would prefer that you all do. We hope it makes things easier on you, and we'll always have the latest and kind of greatest information. So just push them our way. The email address is another great place. If you get messages, just forward them on and we will respond to them timely and with a high level of customer service. So a couple of other things about our approach. That image on the top, I think you've all seen, but that's our magnet and business card. And the point I really want to make with this slide is that it's really important to us that those communications do stay streamlined. So even that purple box that you see at the bottom there, even our contractors are slapping those stickers inside their hard hats. And if they get any questions, they're not answering them in the field. So if you walk up to them, if anyone does answer your question, let me know. But the idea is they're going to let folks know, hey, there's a number you can call. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I mean, we certainly want them to be able to focus on what they're doing, but also it's real easy to try to be helpful and get misinformation, and nothing's more frustrating than, you know, hearing two different things. So having a single source of information goes a long way. And then just a couple of other quick things of note. There's already over 500 followers on the Facebook page. And I think we got like the first 400 of those in like the first week. So you are in fact a Facebook community, which is great. Please keep pushing folks there. We will put things out on Facebook. We will start an email update once the work picks up and do a little bit of a digest every week. And then we've got those other ways we noted for folks to seek information. And the last one I want to just highlight quickly is there is an interactive map on the rethinkmcguire.com website as well. And right now it just looks like a purple line, and that indicates where the construction activity is going to be, where things will be happening. But as our work picks up, and even to the extent we're able to communicate with third-party utility work, we will start updating. You'll see little icons pop up and down the corridor. And when those are hovered over, a little box will pop up with additional information about what's happening on that corner. What's the impact? What is the anticipated timeline? And, you know, where appropriate, it makes sense, really trying to let people know like why, right? If it is something that's going to take a long time or seems really disruptive, why does it have to be that way? So that'll just be another tool that we're using. Any questions? I guess I should note too, in addition to kind of all these feel like mass kind of broad tools, as we go into these different areas and we're working on driveways and our contractor is doing things that have more direct impacts to immediate properties, we're going to be communicating in a one-on-one way with them as well, making sure we understand their concerns and their needs and that we're keeping them apprised of how the work is progressing. So any questions about that?
The
Yes.
question, who's answering that phone?
Yes, there are a couple of folks on our Burns and Mac team
Okay, Britain.
that
Okay,
answer that. Yes,
that's great.
The Burns and Mac is running the outreach and the communications part of this, and we're coordinating very closely with Travis at Capitol and his team. So that's already happening now, which has been great.
Yeah.
They're really good to work with. Yeah, great question. And we're also monitoring the email and the project Facebook page.
Thanks.
Are people able to leave a message at that phone number?
They are, and they can text us at that phone number too.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
If it's not something, you know, super urgent, certainly we try to, you know, same day or as quickly as possible, but it's mostly monitored in real time.
Yeah. Cool.
Mhm. Any questions? Any others?
Just when do you expect to see some equipment out there?
Well, I'll let Brenda answer that and wrap us up.
Sure,
There we go.
there you go.
All right, thank you, Megan. Yeah, so when are we gonna see equipment? We're really pushing to see if we can start making some construction progress this fall. So we know that we're gonna see utilities relocating here even starting late summer. With focusing our improvements on North Street and to the south while we wait on some of the grant funding we're going after. That kind of gives us the momentum to move those forward. So the design team will be moving forward final design plans for that portion of the corridor once we have a better idea that easements are in place. So the easements is really the critical path right now, getting those signed both on the temporary construction and the permanent easements. For those that aren't signed, that's where the design team is going to have to step back and look at options at those particular locations. So easements are a critical path, design plans, and then we should know over the next month, have a better idea on the RAISE grant that we have submitted for, as well as the MODOC cost share that we have also submitted for, and then that emerging contaminants grant. We should have a better idea on timeline.
Do we have an update on the line that was only 3 foot deep?
I don't have any update there. I do know that a lot of the shallow clay pipes were showing their age, is my understanding, so, which isn't surprising. We should have the official reports back on that here in the next month as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
We appreciate you going after these grants too. That's a huge help. Any one of those, or and especially the new one that just came up is, it's very exciting for what it does and also showcases that project. So appreciate you all working on that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Any other questions?
Okay. The only thing I would ask,
Yep.
Since we just talked a little bit about when we're gonna start seeing equipment out there. The team is working on, sort of a groundbreaking ceremony and how we can engage the community, when we do finally get equipment out there. Just to celebrate, what we are doing and keeping the community involved in that, so stay tuned for more information.
We'll stay tuned. Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Brenda.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Okay, item 6.2, gentlemen from Retail Strategies, presented by Cam South, Senior Portfolio Director of Retail Strategies.
Awesome.
I think I saw you online the last time we had a meeting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Good to be in person. Thank you.
Yeah, great to see you guys in person. Thank you for being here, Mr. Mayor, Council. So just want to give you guys here a quick update for some of the work that we've been doing here in Warrensburg. Kind of starting out, we're gonna go through this slideshow here. I want you guys to be, interactive, ask questions, all this stuff gets real nitty gritty and down in the weeds, so you're gonna get confused about some of the stuff I'm talking about, so feel free to always stop and ask.
And Cam, if you wouldn't mind, just real briefly, tell us about your company, what you do and what you're doing for Warrensburg, because we've got a lot of new people here that
Brand new.
may not know why you're here, so.
Absolutely. So my name's Cam South, Senior Portfolio Director at Retail Strategies. So Retail Strategies is a national municipal consultancy firm to specialize in retail real estate consulting. So essentially what we do is you think of us as the Match.com of retail real estate. So try to be the mediator between property, retailer, and just highlight you guys on a national level to retailers. So the fruit through our labor is our connections with the national brands, national guys, decision makers, the ones that make the call. Just like this is a real estate committee that goes through every site that we send, get yays and nays. A lot of times it's nays, and we come back, try to figure out what's the nay, how can we try to mediate that. So we started a partnership here in Warrensburg back in 2022. We also have a few other lines of services. The service we have here is called retail recruitment, but we have a small business line of service as well as a downtown, which focuses more on Main Street. I'm here in the retail McGuire, and it's, thinking about our downtown services, our Main Street program that we work with, the beautification, walkability studies and all, which is great. It's really exciting hearing that work. So our process starts with collecting data. That's where we come, understand your market from a 30,000 foot view. We want to know what the consumer in your market is doing, what their shopping habits, where they're shopping, where they're spending those dollars at. Where does that money need to be focused on to where our efforts on those dollars need to focus on sales tax collection. We perform a boots on the ground, so we physically come to the market, catalog real estate, usually have a partner with me to sit. I'm usually driving, he's on his laptop, like, slow down, or turn right, turn left. We're trying to catalog as much property as we possibly can. So, as well as meeting with property owners, talking with brokers. We got in today, stopped downtown, met some brokers to try to highlight the market while we're here and over here. But you know, we want to collect everything from traffic counts. We want to know what the traffic patterns look like, site size, just different metrics that we're looking for when we're doing our boots on the ground. And one thing the most important thing is trying to understand the market as a whole with the type of retail that's currently in place. We always look at retail as a domino effect. So one drops, the others drop with them. So big word, well, small word, but big term, big meaning behind this co-tenancy. A lot of retailers won't come to a market if it's certain retailers that's not already here. So that's why I use that term. It's a domino effect. So why should this consulting, well, why should a municipality invest in resources? So retail right now accounts for about $1.9 billion in nationwide in sales tax dollars last quarter. So you know, it's important for cities to understand that sales tax dollars are very crucial to fund projects, fund every municipal projects, revitalizations and certain things. So this diagram here, this isn't like saying, hey, this is the best you can go after. This here just represents the number of dollars that or average unit volume that these retailers do. So if you look at this, you know, we want to start climbing that ladder and trying to bolster those retail dollars. What's in our toolbox? We'll talk a little bit about the data. So we're going to do a little deep dive here, I don't want to bore you guys too much, but it starts with your custom trade area. You know, as a city official, if you go on Google, you type in Warrensburg, the first thing you're going to see is that little red line that outlines, you know, city boundaries. So I want you to get that out your mind. That's not how retailers are looking at your community. They're looking at your community, you know, from a 70%. What I mean by that is 70% of your core consumer housing shopping. So your consumer boundaries go way beyond your city limit boundaries. So you're pulling in other communities, smaller communities around you to shop in your trade area. One way we justify that is through mobile data tracking or geofencing. Raise your hand if you read the book 1984, Jordan. I'm sure you guys are very good at that. So not saying that Big Brother is spying down on you, but on your phone, geofencing tracks your phone. When you walk through a business, you might get an ad or you're talking about something, you see it pop on your phone. Same difference. Retailers and data providers buy that information from these different companies to understand your shopping habits, you know, what type of products you're going after. So it's really important for us to look and see how a store is performing. Like we could drop it down to Walmart and see exactly where this consumer is coming from and how much dwell time they're spending, what type of product they're buying. We don't know exactly where they live, but it's a block group, so we have a general idea of where they live, which brings them into your custom trade area. So this here is a small representation. Well, this is a small map, but a big representation of Warrensburg's CTA custom trade area. And this is some more data that we pulled from Walmart. And it shows, you know, things from where it ranks, how many people shop at this certain Walmart, the dwell time, where does it rank in the county or in the DMA. It shows percentages of how far away they're coming from to shop. So since we talked very lightly about the CTA, one of the most important things in a CTA is your gap analysis or leakage, meaning dollars that are being spent in and outside of your market. So right now within this CTA, total market supply is $437 million. Total market demand, meaning what your consumer is demanding within the different categories, is about $923 million, getting close up to that $1 billion mark. And right now, the opportunity gap that we need to chase after is $485 million. So how do we figure this out? How do we know this? So we're going to go through these categories through our gap study and understand within these categories, what type of retailers we need to focus on. So these are the dollars we have to capture within these certain brands and within certain categories. So we narrow it down. We don't want to be, we want to cast a wide net, but we want to understand like we have to be realistic on what we're going after. So current categories that we're going after is grocery, general merchandise, clothing, food. Type of retailers that we're going after is, furniture stores, looking at furniture stores, we're looking at full service restaurants, quick service restaurants, QSRs. If anyone gets confused on what a full service restaurant or a quick service restaurant, like Texas Roadhouse, for example, is a full service restaurant. Fast casual is like a Chipotle, something down that line. And the QSR is like Medium Beach or McDonald's. So. But we're going also after your clothing and apparel, your home improvement stores, your home goods, your personal care, health and personal care type of brands. You're going to get a more diverse picture of the type of retail within those categories as well, because everyone doesn't come. Everyone likes the new to market retail, the brands that you don't see usually in your type of market or within a bigger DMA area.
Cam, if you already said it, I apologize, but what's a DMA?
Your designated metropolitan area or your metropolitan area. Just in retail, what we say DMA.
Thank you.
So just a few updates here. I've got a lot of stuff here that's redacted just for public use here. But we are going really close working with a development group that works with a national home and national farm and home retailer here in the market. Danielle Barber are doing a lot of work here on the city end with this brand. We're also working with a few QSRs here and some of the other page as well. National Burger brand is a very well known national chicken brand. Not saying you can kind of think of who that is without giving a hint, well, without giving too crazy of a hint. Hints. Working with a national kind of decor and hobby brand right now. Working with National Coffee User. One thing I'm also going to say about the QSRs is franchising. A lot of these locations are not corporately owned. They're privately owned or operated through a franchisee. So part of our job as well is trying to find the stakeholders, the shareholders to expand the brand or bring in, a new brand to already existing restaurant operator to get them interested in the market. So that brings a lot of challenges, hurdles for us to jump over as well. Gets down in the nitty gritty of certain things that they need and requirements. One big thing I'm going to talk about very lightly here is the macro and microeconomics in today's real estate world. But we get to that here in a little bit. We're working with a pet supply user, a national sports bar and grill. This is a new to market brand. There is one that is opening up in the States. I won't give it out, but you see it when it opens. Central State, I give you a hint. We are working with national grocery user as well. So how does this work? How does it get from saying, hey, I like this site to a cash restaurant? So there's a lot. It takes 18 to 36 months at best in today's economics for a retailer to get its doors open. So, there's a lot of steps in between that, dealing with shareholders, your real estate committees, and then finally the financing on the project, which is 99% of the time is a killer to a lot of deals in today with the economic environment, just because cost of materials as well as interest rates on commercial loans. Pre-COVID, you're looking at about 3.7%. Now you're at 8.3% on your average loan. So that's a big debt ceiling that they have to close in order for a commercial lender to guarantee their loan. So I want to take some questions. I also want to go over a few things here as well. So, well, in the world right now that we live in, it's challenges that we always have to look at in the retail world. One thing that we're learning and that we're seeing a lot now is the importance of a public-private partnership with developers and retailers. you know, COVID has caused a lot of things financially for almost everyone. We've seen higher inflation rates, seen higher interest rates all across the board on everything. So what I mean by public-private partnership, are things such as incentives or a TIF or CIDs, anything that helps out a retailer. And sometimes it doesn't have to be a monetary thing. You know, something you're not looking for dollars, maybe it may be a public infrastructure improvement, maybe parking lot lighting or facade upgrades, or they need water and sewer plumbed to a site, or power brought to a site. So certain things like that help when these retail developers are plumbing out their performer, to make sure that it makes sense financially, because it can be a $200,000, you know, deficit in their performer, where it may cause them to say, hey, we can't do this because we can't get power, we can't pay for the water, we can't get these certain things to the site because we can't get that extra money through our loan service. So think of, if you put your ambiguity hat on, you know, they're thinking of with their ambiguity hat on, say, hey, we can't do this site, maybe we can do this site because it makes sense financially better for us. So we're working with a retailer really close right now that's bouncing around from site to site, because guess what, they can't. They're starting to see like, hey, we can't do this site because of these financials, we can't do this site because this isn't in place, we can't go much further. So as a general topic, just think a little bit on the public-private partnership. I know that's very high level for you to say, but you can dig a little bit deeper. We can work closer with you guys on those things here. One other thing, you know, is when I go back to the macro and micro and macro level of finances. On the macro level, we're dealing with Fed's interest rates. On micro level, we're dealing with, you know, property owners and the pricing of their sites. And so we want to be, you know, open and understanding about certain sites that, you know, the work ain't doesn't work. We just got back from ICSC Las Vegas. This is probably one of the most knowledgeable shows I've been to over the last 3 years. A lot of great information, a lot of energy coming out of these shows as brands starting to see, hey, you know, maybe there is a light at the end of this road that we have to continue fighting financially for these extra dollars or for these loans that they need to get. They're becoming a little bit more creative. They're starting to rechange their brand standards and their real estate standards as well, which kind of opens up markets like Warrensburg to get some of these new market brands placed here. So any questions?
Would you mind to restate the 4 broad areas you're looking at? It was grocery, food and beverage.
Yeah, so we're looking at
Yeah.
grocery, so your grocery brands, we're looking at your general merchandising brands, and that spreads over everything from.
Right, that's a lot, yeah.
Under that, health and personal care actually kind of falls under that
Okay.
brand as well.
Yeah,
Some of your beauty and retailers fall in that category.
okay.
Some of your national discount type brands fall in that category as well. Clothing is on there, so think about brands like Marshalls.
Yeah.
As an example, of clothing, that we're
Okay.
going after, of course, food and beverage.
And just, again, since I'm the newbie, just to be clear, you all work exclusively with larger brands and not with small, kind of independently owned local businesses?
Yeah,
Is
so
that
our
right?
bread and butter is national retail, but we work with regional and local brands as well.
Okay.
The thing about that is that national brands, we're able to move quicker with those brands just because they have a bigger, diverse portfolio. They have entire teams.
They got the scale, yeah.
Yeah, and that work on this every day. There's something we can just pick up the phone and call and say, hey, you know, tell me about this, what happened in the real estate meeting?
Mhm.
Tell me what we need in order to get started. Where we have to do more of a teaching role on the you know, the local and regional players, because you know, it starts as a mom and pop, you know, they don't know about the expansion, like how can they factor in market analysis for future expansion plans. So we have to go through those things, and it just gets a little,
Sure.
we don't want to spend too much time working with the regional and local brands. Not in a bad way, but it takes a lot of time to go
Sure,
through that
yeah, that
process.
makes sense.
You know, we want to get the low hanging fruit
Yeah.
off the tree first, and then, you know, we can dig a little bit deeper, you know, hold a hand and go with the national and local brands.
Yeah.
What is our 3 mile population? You said 35,000, but where are we in that range? I mean,
Yeah, so it just varies when we say a 3, 5, 10 minute drive time or 5, 10, 15 mile radius rings, it's from certain points, so it varies. On average here, it's about 35,000 within about a 5 mile. About a 10 mile radius ring. But if you're looking at your core consumer through your CTA, we're looking at about 48,000 to about 50,000 in your CTA area.
And so these are the four, if I remember the other chart, these are the four sort of top reasons that folks are leaving our general area to shop.
Mhm.
Right.
So, yeah, these are the 4 categories, the most where the consumer is spending monies outside of Warrensburg in different brands.
Yep.
So our point is to try to get those
more
brands
of those
here,
here.
so we
Yep.
can capture those dollars, make sure it stays here. in your CTA.
And then at the local level, that's a different conversation. That's
Yeah,
something that
that's
we would
different.
work that. Needs development and maybe work with JCEBC and other as partners in trying to attract and retain those smaller locally owned places.
And one big thing too, I didn't mention is that we're putting a lot of effort and focus on working with developers. Because we're starting to see like volume and density works with developers, meaning that they need to get more retailers on board to do these projects. And that kind of, again, is that casting that wide net out to pull more in, where we get a shopping center of 100,000 to 200,000 square foot GLA shopping center, grocery anchor, soft good anchored shopping center. Because they can, again, like I said, they can capture some more of those retailers in. They can go to the bank and say, hey, this is going to be a $38 million project. I have capital, I have this liquidity, I have equity, whatever, where they can match that service, that debt. So.
nope, I'm good.
Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Thanks so
Sam.
much. Mhm.
Okay, we're moving to number 7 on the agenda, public hearing. A public hearing on an ordinance enlarging a LI light industrial district by rezoning land located at 501 North Ridgeview Drive from R3 low density multifamily residence district to LI light industrial district, presented by Barbara Carroll, Director of Community Development. Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. You have a couple maps in your packet. And one of those is the current zoning map, and it shows that this property is on the north end of an area that's zoned R3. And it actually is a cutout of a larger light industrial area. And so the R3 is the orange colored and the light industrial is the gray color. And the Rise Community Services has requested that it be rezoned to light industrial. The history on the property is that it was originally owned by Johnson County under the Johnson County Board of Services. And they owned the property and turned that kind of group home into a day services building, and it now operates under the land use 3.210 offices, clerical research and services not primarily related to goods or merchandise, with operations either indoor or outdoor. And that use specifically is not allowed in an R3 district. That was not an issue when it was owned by the county. When it's owned by Rise Community Services, it does not fall under the county's auspices. That is more of an issue. So it is now a non-conforming use in an R3 district. And that can continue on into time, that's fine, as a non-conforming use, but the Rise would like to install a sign, and this conversation with the city recently began because they would like to install a sign, a ground-mounted sign. We have a lot of those like along Burkharth Road, they would like to have a ground mounted sign outside of this facility, and contacted staff. And in an R3 district, they are allowed to have a 4 square foot size sign, whether that's on the building or in the yard, doesn't matter, but that's a very small sign and not in keeping with an office type of use. And to the north, there is an office with a ground mounted sign that they want to be consistent with what the neighborhood already has. So in discussing with them, they decided to pursue a rezoning because it would allow the sign, the type of sign, ground mounted sign in a light industrial district that they want, but it would also bring them into their use, same use they currently are, into a conforming status, because that use is allowed in a light industrial district by right. So it would accomplish two purposes for them. Long-term, having a conforming use in a zoning district would be a positive. There might be other changes they would someday want to make to the building. Let's say an addition or a separate building. Those things would not be possible as a non-conforming use. You would have to be a conforming use, allowed by right, to take on that kind of project. So it will serve them long-term. It should serve them well as well. Staff has recommended approval, and the Planning and Zoning Commission considered the request at their meeting last week and recommended approval as well. There is a copy of their written findings in the packet. We have notified property owners within 300 feet and given the notice in the newspaper, et cetera. We have not received any public comments. Yes, that's true. We have not received any public comment related to this request. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Thanks.
Thank you.
Nobody here. So. Item 7.2. Hearing closed.
I would just open it and just in case someone didn't get their name on the list.
Okay, anyone from the public for a comment on the 501 North Ridgeview Drive? Okay. We'll close comments for that. Item 7.2, a public hearing on an ordinance authorizing a conditional use permit for land use 1.111 single family detached site built dwelling in the general business district located at 205 East Oak Street in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri, presented by Barbara Carroll.
So this is a property at the corner of Oak Street and College Street. It's in the northeast corner, and that entire northeast portion is zoned general business. You can see that in the maps that are attached as well. And this property has been developed as a single family house for a number of years and been continually used that way. The property to the north is a duplex in the general business district, and the property immediately to the east is another single family home in the general business district. And the current owner of the property, April Updike, has petitioned the city for a conditional use permit for a site built dwelling in the general business district. And this does come up from time to time, so you'll be familiar with this type of request where you have a house in a business district, whether the central business district or our general business districts most usually. And when they go to sell, the potential buyers are not able to get financing because it is not an allowed by right use in a commercial district. That is the case with this request. And so she is asking for the conditional use permit for the existing single family dwelling that's there. That would then run with the land and be of benefit and use by a future buyer, that they could provide that documentation to the lender if the lender is asking for that type of quote unquote build back letter type of information, in order for them to do collateral against the loan. So that's what this evening's request is for that. We have had a few public comments. This was discussed at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting last week. And they did ultimately recommend approval with the condition that staff approve any final site plan. We have a preliminary plan in the packet, which is just a map of Google Earth with the existing setback shown, because right now there is not a plan to change the house to add on to the house. They don't have any plans to change the site, but they don't have that final buyer yet either. And so we can't fully know what that potential buyer might do. If a future buyer did want to make changes to the property, they would have to come back and redo this process to amend that site plan. So right now, we don't anticipate that, but if there were major changes, staff would bring that back. We would not approve of that, and that's typical of what we've done in the past. So that was the condition that the planning and zoning put on it. That condition is shown in your proposed ordinance in front of you this evening. We have received one additional piece of public comment since the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on June 7th. Tyler Menard of 615 North Clark Street, Apartment B4, called City Hall to understand what the request was and if the city was trying to tear down the property. So we explained that we were not trying to tear down the property and explained what the request was for. And he stated he was looking at purchasing the property. So he's a potential buyer that's trying to understand this process. There was a comment made during the Planning and Zoning Commission by April Updike, and I don't think I see her. No. She had made a comment that it is own general business, though there is no on-street parking allowed on either Oak Street or College Street, and a business is not likely to want to go where there would be no on-street parking. That would be very limiting to a business. So wanted to pass that on. Are there any questions of me?
Anyone from the public wish to speak about the conditional use permit for 205 East Oak Street? No one here?
Oh, April's,
Oh,
April is online.
Oh,
She raised
okay.
her hand if she wishes to speak.
Great. Okay, April.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay. Yes, I was just going to point out there is no parking there whatsoever for a business, and it is across the street from the park. And really, do you want a bunch of businesses around a park area? Or would you rather have residents, where children would be running and playing and crossing the street and such? Across the road, that is all residents, and from my next door neighbor on up until you get to the bank, those are all residences as well.
Any other comments, April?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'll now close the public hearing on that item 7.2. Item 8.1, an ordinance rezoning land located at 401 Franklin Street from R2, 1 and 2 family residence district to R4, medium density multifamily residence district, presented by Barbara Carroll.
Yes, this was a request that you had a public hearing for and a first reading at your meeting in May. At that time, we had not received the copy of the application with the original signature on it. We did receive that since then, so it is appropriate for you to take final action and do a second reading. I will remind you that the Planning and Zoning Commission did not recommend approval of this. So if it is the desire of this body to approve that, it will take a 4 out of 5 votes. So it will take 4 affirmative votes to approve the request. we have not gotten any other public comment in
Okay.
between the two meetings either.
Thank you. All right.
I'm not sure of how to voice the, how to phrase the motion.
We've read it once, so this was the second reading,
Motion to approve.
so just a motion to.
Okay, motion to approve.
Okay.
Now, if will we voting no if we don't want it to go forward, or yes if we want it to go forward?
It's, the motion's in the positive, so you would vote no if you do not want
Thank
it.
you.
Kushner,
No.
Osborne,
No.
Latari? No. Euler,
No.
motion failed.
Nine point one, an ordinance enlarging a light industrial district by rezoning land located at 501 North Ridgeview Drive from R3 Low Density Multifamily Residence District to Light Industrial District, presented by Barbara Carroll. Any questions for Barbara Carroll?
Nope.
Okay. We have a motion.
Motion to move second reading by title.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari? Yes. Euler,
Yes.
an ordinance enlarging an light industrial district by rezoning land located at 501 North Ridgeview Drive from R3 Low Density Multifamily Residence District to an L1I Light Industrial District. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari? Yes. Euler,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, 9.2. An ordinance authorizing a conditional use permit for land use 1.111, single family detached site built dwelling in the GB General Business District located at 205 East Oak Street in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri, presented by Barbara Carroll. Any questions for Barbara Carroll?
Motion to move to second reading by title. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari? Yes. Euler,
Yes.
an ordinance authorizing a conditional use permit for land use 1.111, single family detached site built dwelling in the GB General Business District located at 205 East Oak Street in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari? Yes. Euler,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay. 9.3, an ordinance accepting the sanitary sewer, street, and stormwater improvements in the Allen Acres Third Plat subdivision for maintenance by the city of Warrensburg, presented by Phil.
Oh, Mayor, the council, unfortunately, Jason couldn't be here with us this evening. This is an ordinance accepting Allen Acres, the streets, sewer, and all the stuff that we take care of. It has been tested and passed, and then the permit has been closed by the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. And it is our recommendation that you do go ahead with this ordinance.
Any questions for Phil?
It's just the same Allen Acres we've been working on forever, Barb.
Yes,
Oh,
20 years ago was the last time you worked on it.
yeah,
And, yes,
Okay.
this is the next phase.
all right.
Exciting.
Moving at the speed of sound.
It's moving, that matters.
Exactly.
Okay, we have a motion, please.
Move,
Oh, excuse me.
no,
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 no.
no.
Moves,
I must have-
set ordinance to be second reading by title.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari? Yes. Euler,
Yes.
An ordinance accepting the sanitary sewer, street and stormwater improvements in the Allen Acres Third Plat subdivision for maintenance by the city of Warrensburg, Missouri. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, 9.4, an ordinance established traffic control in the Allen Acres Third Plat subdivision in the city of Warrensburg, presented by Phil.
So this is same Allen Acres, since we are accepting the responsibility of the streets and all that, we did take this to traffic commission. And the traffic commission approved the control needs for the stop signs, name, or road signs, road names, and we recommend that you pass this ordinance.
Questions? No?
Motion to move to second reading by title.
Thank you, Susie.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance establishing traffic control in the Allen Acres Third Plat subdivision in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
9.5. An ordinance amending ordinance 5819 concerning the adopted fiscal 2024 annual budget beginning October 1, 2023, presented by Courtney Christensen, our interim finance and HR director. Welcome, Courtney.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. All of these things, except for two of them that are before you as amendments, have actually come before you before and you've already decided on, but we did not have the actual amendment before you to actually pay for the things or move the funds to where they needed to go. So what this does is at the beginning of the year, in September of last year, you adopted the 24 budget. There are several things that have been happening. It's been a very busy year, very productive year. And things have happened that the city has moved forward with, and this is just that kind of cleanup. It's closing that circle of now we've got to go ahead and move from the different fund balances, the money over into the active accounts. And so you have seen the majority of these, and we'll talk about the ones you haven't seen. The first one is the revolving grant reimbursement fund. It's moving 500,000 from the general fund balance over to that new fund. And as you know, then there was an agreement with JCEDC and the Veterans Road where the city is loaning that money, or it's not. It's letting them use it at this point in time until their grant reimbursement comes back in, because there's always that delay. And it's very hard to come up with those kinds of funds to get this done on a timely basis. And the Veterans Road will then be is annexed. Did it happen? Was it annexed into the state? That's what I thought. The next one is the Children's Memorial. And you all approved these in previously. Jody brought these before you, our city clerk. The Children's Memorial Board approved $10,380 for a statue to be made, which we have paid that so that they can begin that building of that. And then the board also agreed to I don't know if it's a grant or a gift of $9,000 for a cooling crib and the equipment that accompanies that for the hospital. For infants that need that. And then Anderson Stevenson Fund, you all approved a $1,000 scholarship. That fund is for children of city employees who might be going to college for a scholarship, and you granted a $1,000 grant to that. And so this is moving it out of their fund balance over to where it can be expended. The IT intern was a new thing. It is a person from the community. It's from UCM who is studying, is interested in becoming in information technology. And so Gary Swanson had asked that he be able to hire an intern for the summer, which the city manager agreed to. And these are just the funds for that to be paid. It's just so that it is not coming from fund balance or anything like that. Bottom line, the general fund can manage this as it's already budgeted for the year. When we went over the second quarter analysis at the retreat, we saw that we would have enough funds for this. So this is not coming from fund balance. And that person has started and I think brought some real energy down there.
Great. Great to have her.
Every time I go around. And the last one is from the parks, Parks and Recreation. They, as you know about the issues with the coating on the indoor pool, indoor pools, and that we had a problem with that. They had to go back out. We didn't finish paying the other contractor because it had failed. $130,000 was not paid to them. And then, they went out for contract. We thought the contract was gonna be, the estimate was about $250,000, which we then did a end of year encumbrance for $120,000 to make the $250,000 up. But when all of the bids came in, the lowest and best bid was $495,000. And so the park board has agreed to take that extra $245,000 from their fund balance. And so that would be the last part of the amendment. As far as amendments go, we will have another amendment for you if a council were to approve the new solid waste fund and the contract in the future, but we wouldn't know how much that is at this point in time, so we have no reason to bring that to you. We will bring it when we bring the contract, if the recommendation is to approve that. And then lastly, at the end of the year, we'll do a final look at what has happened in the last 6 months and see if there are any other amendments that need to be done. Any questions?
Questions?
No. Thank you for your work on that.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.
We do recommend approval of the ordinance. It's attached.
Thanks, Courtney. A motion, please.
Motion to approve said ordinance.
Oh, just second reading.
At just second reading, sure.
Thank you. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance 5819 concerning the adopted fiscal year 2024 annual budget beginning October 1, 2023. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, other business, item 10.1. A resolution of the City Council of Warrensburg for the City of Warrensburg to enter into a memorandum of understanding MOU with the Johnson County Emergency Services Board Metropolitan Area Regional Radio System, MARS, presented by Andrew J. Munsterman, Police Chief.
It's actually Andrew W. Munsterman. I caught that earlier. Sorry about that.
So
I thought it was
sorry.
Just change your name or what?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council.
It's a W.
Andrew.
What's W stand for?
Wesley.
Wesley.
Oh, so sorry.
Before you here is a resolution to move forward with moving into the MARS system. The police department approximately 2 years ago went to Moswin off of our kind of failing system at that point. Well, then Johnson County Central Dispatch went out for the tax and they had got the tax pass and they have tires being built and everything right now. The Moswin system has served us okay, but they were supposed to be bringing in a portable antenna until they got a permanent one up, possibly on Dispatch's new antenna. And that would help us on our inside our building coverage. So that hasn't been done. I'm not sure that will get done because I'll have to negotiate with Dispatch in regards to can they put it there for free or are they gonna charge them a monthly fee? And their system works fine for them, for like their state troopers and stuff out in the county. It is still working for us. However, all entities within the Johnson County are moving to the MARS system. So I believe our services for fire and police is gonna be best served moving to the MARS system with them through that through this MOU. So stand for any questions.
Nope.
And this is supposed to be guaranteeing 95% coverage, and that's inside of buildings as well, so, and they're gonna be coming and testing that, so. That is very good. Yep. Thank you.
Andy, just a quick question. This is the Metropolitan Area Regional Radio System. That is what the Metropolitan Kansas City is on, correct?
I believe so, yes.
So we'll be able to communicate with those.
If we're in their top groups, we'll still have our most wind channel, as well. And our radios, we can switch back to our most wind channel if we need to. And we can communicate, if I'm in Kansas City, I can still communicate back down here. If for some reason Mars goes down and that's not working, we'll have that as a backup channel. Plus we have our central dispatch, our previous channels, that's the backup channel for us as well.
And this affects our fire department as well. Any input, chief, about that one way or the other?
It does impact us. We'll be on a similar system, so, as Chief Mushman said, it's a very redundant system, so. While our local dispatch is tied into the Mars network, they're standalone here locally if that connection's severed with those services in the city. Plus Mars, plus we have most options, plus our conventional stuff that it is, so. Very redundant system, will be much more reliable for all of us.
I think in the years past, correct me if I'm wrong, chief, in the years past, chief, you probably know this, our police department might have done a different type build alone system at one point to where they were working kind of against each other. So I want to work with other agencies and other entities. So if all the entities are doing it that best benefits Warrensburg, I think we need to make a motion to move forward with this. So,
Thanks.
thank you.
Yep.
Move to approve the resolution.
Okay. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mayoral appointments, 11.1. A, appoint Eddie Osborne as city council representative for the Warrensburg Property Rehabilitation Corporation. B, appoint Eddie Osborne as mayor representative for the Planning and Zoning Commission. C, reappoint Shaughnessy Johnson as the director for the Parks and Recreation Board for a 3-year term through June of 2027. D, reappoint Claude Owen as a director for the Parks and Recreation Board for a 3-year term through June 2027. And E, appoint Bonnie Seelinger as a director for the Parks and Recreation Board for a 3-year term through June 2027, replacing Erica Jones Collins.
To approve mayoral appointments.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Appearances to the council not listed on the agenda. Again, there are the.
Thanks, Phil.
It's like the other one. We didn't have any, so. Miscellaneous matters from the mayor and or city council. 14.1, city staff updates, fire department, May 2024 activity report. Chief Jennings.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. The activity report for the fire department is in your packet for May. Just a couple of items to note. Overlapping calls, so those multiple calls occurring at the same time has continued to go up this year, currently 11% higher than we were at this time last year. And total incident responses for May, we ran 175 calls, putting our year to date at 769 and 18% higher than the same time the previous year. So we've been busy. Last week, Division Chief Jeremy Vanway attended the annual Community Blood Center recognition events, recognizing the achievements of 2023. Unknowing to him, when he got there, he saw that the city of Warrensburg's fire and police blood drives had, in the government agencies category, placed first with 451 units collected last year. And the University of Central Missouri also placed first in their category with 725 units. So I think it's neat to highlight the Warrensburg's community surrounding areas commitment to donating blood and helping that cause.
Very
So,
cool. That's
very, very neat. Good investment and some pizza, and I guess the cookies are okay too, I've heard, so. A good program there. Also highlights a cruise last week. They worked very hard. We hosted a rope rescue technician course all last week. We'd originally planned to host that course this year, and we included that in our training budget, which was a $14,000 run of courses to get all things rope, high, low, sideways. We were able to secure that course through the state contracted training funds, so we were able to have a significant cost savings there and having it locally. We ended up having 13 folks complete the course that will test for certification tomorrow. So wishing them all luck. That's a 200 question test for all 3 categories, and then they'll do practical skills the rest of the day. So don't envy any of those folks.
Nope. Nope. It's hard for
Very
you.
big, but this takes a big bite out of a area of service that we provide that is not only difficult to get the training and maintain the certification, but we were able to get a lot of our folks through it and kind of fill that gap that we've had as kind of a weakness over the past several years with that term. So that's what I have for you tonight. If you don't have any other questions, Julie?
Nope, that's Chief. Item 14.2, city staff updates, Warrensburg Arts Commission. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Councilman Osborne, if you would help me out for this presentation for the Arts Commission
I will do my
update.
turn just.
Thank you. You have, we did.
Coordinated.
Kind of artsy.
We're
like
going
that.
steady.
Oh, hi, dog. Okay, Jody, write them down. Have the quarterly report from the Arts Commission, and I am the staff liaison, and Councilman Osborne is the council liaison. The Arts Commission at the April meeting, they had the absolute pleasure of having City Clerk Jody Schneider come and present on the Sunshine Law. Jody presents it in such a way that it's not so much a little bit too much jargon. It's very relatable, and they appreciated her coming and talking to them about Sunshine Law and protecting not only ourselves, but I'm providing that transparency to the public. Commissioner Steve Carter and Allison Robbins did attend the Missouri Arts Commission or Council event in Mexico, Missouri. The Arts Commission grant, they just wanted to highlight, they did have the grant supported art duo public concert took place at Magnolia Mercantile on April 11th, and they had approximately 20 people in attendance, and they did receive $25 in donation. They are already gearing up. They have formed a grant committee to start looking not only at the internal grant, their internal grant program, but for some outside grant opportunities as well. And so they formed that committee, and they're going to have their first meeting tomorrow at the Warrensburg Visitor Center to meet and discuss how they want to proceed going forward. Arts and Public Places, that committee is going, and they are going very strong. They, Jamie from the UCM Art Gallery has come through the City Hall, and we're really excited about being able to utilize some of the space through City Hall to display some public art. And so she is working on that proposal, getting that plan together. Big thank you to City Administration for allowing us that opportunity. Third Wednesday, Art Walks, the Arts Commission does have a table, and they have been presenting some just information about the commission, and then also handing out those awesome Warrensburg activity guides. Future events, just want to highlight this event because I think it's near and dear to a lot of folks' heart. World Kindness Day is November 13th, and it's a project that the Arts Commission is, it's a day that the Arts Commission would like to bring everyone together. So they are just starting with the project of bringing local youth together and possibly a coffee sleeve, those little sleeves that protect your hands, and maybe decorating them with a warm message, motivational message for our local coffee shops to use during that time to remind folks that they are thought about, and we're glad that they're here. So that's just a little bit about the Arts Commission. I would like to take an opportunity. I didn't quite get Marcy B. Barnhart on there, Marcy J. or Marcy W. Well, I'll take it. But I did get back. Last week I was in Macon, Georgia. I was at Mercer University. I received a scholarship from Missouri Division of Tourism to attend the Southeast Tourism Marketing College. It's a 3-year program for 1 week each June for the next two more years. I will be in Macon, Georgia. It's a week-long program that you start the day at 7 o'clock and you get done about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So much good information about how we can pull it back into our community. So I'm really, really excited about this. A big thank you to the WCVB board for allowing me to attend. There are some minor, just a few meals, but allowing me to be out of the office during that time. So I'm really excited and get ready because I'm coming back with some ideas. Thank you.
I have a quick question, Marcy.
quick question.
Sorry, just again, because I'm learning about the Arts Commission, the grants. Could you tell me just super quick, like what's the source of the funding for the grants that the Arts Commission itself could give away? Do you know?
Okay, help me out here. So what are you asking, who's eligible or where the funds come?
Just where the funds come
You,
from?
the city provides those funds.
Okay, is it, and it's a set amount that the commission, the Arts Commission
The Arts
decides?
Commission has it in their budget.
Yeah,
And
okay.
it's presented to council, and council approves that budget, so it is put in the council's budget. And then they are, they're working on, they had so many requests this year that they weren't able, they had awarded all their funding. So that's part of the grant committee, the reason for the art committee to be, the grant committee to be formed is, okay, let's look at how we're doing this. Is it meeting the needs of everyone? Do we need maybe to stagger having 2 application periods? And I believe they awarded $2,000 what was in the budget for this year.
Yeah, that's exciking.
It's very
They
exciting.
had so many more than they could do. That's great. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's a
I
great
appreciate it.
problem, but.
It is, it is.
So thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'd just like to say the pickleball, oh, do you have something to? Okay, I just said the pickleball ribbon cutting was fantastic, great crowd. Thanks to the Blaine Whitworth Foundation for that and Parks Department and Public Works, everybody involved with that. But it was a really great event. And again, I'm hearing really nice things and good things about the NASA pool, how well it's operating this year. So thanks.
Thank you.
Pickleball court ribbon cutting off my list. No, thank you for saying that, Mayor. I certainly wanted to congratulate Chris. I do think that that is an incredible amenity that we brought to our community, and just see the excitement of ribbon cutting and everyone comes out there. So congratulations to the Parks Recs Department. The one thing I wanted to update you all on, you all received an email from a concerned citizen about speeding over on Grover Street. I'm happy to report back to you all that, working together with the police department and public works departments, we deployed a speed trailer. We did have to borrow the university's speed trailer because we are working on getting ours up and running. That's probably something, a conversation you'll hear about, during the budget discussions. But we did deploy that speed trailer, so you all know what that is. When you're driving too fast, it blinks very fast at you and lets you know. When you're driving the speed limit, it doesn't blink at you. We are also doing more stationary radar checks in the area, as well as increasing our patrol. I do think it's important to note that traffic in that area right now is going to be down just because the school is out. It is summertime. But we do know police department is aware of that situation. They are out there. They are taking care of it. Did communicate that with that resident. They are satisfied, but then one of the other, with the, investigation that we are doing with it, one of the other things that we are also looking at is installing an additional speed limit sign. Looks like there might be a reason to put another one up, just to remind folks that it is 25 miles an hour through there. So that was the only, another thing to celebrate. We did do our Juneteenth proclamation earlier tonight. Just a reminder that City Hall, that is a holiday that you all have decided to approve for City Hall to observe. So on June 19th, City Hall offices will be closed. So that is the third year that we have been celebrating and honoring and observing Juneteenth here in the city of Warrensburg. So thank you all for that.
Okay, item 15.1, closed session. Motion to close part of this meeting pursuant to section 610.21 of the revised statute of Missouri relating to leasing, purchase, or sale of real estate by a public governmental body.
Move to approve.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.